everyone, it's Shirley Farrar, and this is Encouragement on Fire. I'm glad you joined me today. This is podcast number 81, and we are still talking about time management. So, we really need to start breaking that down in exactly what that is. And we've been trying to define it, but we're just getting to, I say, the crust of it. Like that part that, oh, we got to unpack it just a little bit more. So, today, in the time management, we're going to start with specific ways to do this, right? In our continuous learning. So let's think about that. How do we have continuous learning in our time management? Because that kind of is redundant. Like, how can I have continuous learning when I'm trying to have good time management skills? But they go hand in hand. In life, we must be authentic in who we are. So there's always going to be professional development. There's always going to be that continuous learning in our life because it's necessary for us to be or to show up in our authentic self, right? The Lord, He requires of us to show up, to learn, to be everything that we can for our own personal journey and many times to help someone else along the way. Okay, so every book that you read, every class that you take, it may not just be for you. It may be for someone else that you have to share that content with. Okay, so let's dive in. So continuous learning, how do we go about doing that, right? And remember, we're never coming off of what this podcast is about, right? Defeating sickness, right? Disease. That's what this is about. And how do we do that? By having good time management. Or that's how we don't want to have an unbalanced life. We want to make sure that we're balanced in all things, right? Because the Bible tells us false balance is an abomination. We don't want that. So we want to make sure while we're thinking of defeating sickness and disease and cancer, right? And anything else that goes along with it. How do we have good time management? So let's dive in. So today I want to talk about continuous learning. And the first thing you're going to need to know, you can't even dive into continuous learning, which we will in this podcast or the next. But the first thing you have to do is understand what is SMART goals, right? And I know you've heard that term many times, but let's just talk about it. Let's just have a brief conversation. What are SMART goals? Okay. So I'm looking at, the definitions that they have online. And like I said, you can buy books on this. You can take webinars on this. You can probably go in a dictionary and they have it in there. I haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure it's there. You can Google it and it's going to pop up the same exact 5 parts of the SMART goals, right? So the first one is being specific. So if we are talking about continuous learning in our life, and we're talking about making sure we're mindful of our time, we have to make sure that why am I here? What is the purpose I'm here in the earth? You have to write that down. You have to have a good definition. Define that. And if you don't know, then that's why we said talk to a mentor, because a mentor is going to bring out things in you that of new discovery, things that you never thought of. They're going to get you to explore different things. And so, in that, we start to define out who we are. We're writing that down. And now we're uncovering these specific things about us, about our nature, about who we are, about our purpose in life. And so, as we understand that, we can be very specific about professional development. We can be very specific about what am I going to learn this year? So if you haven't already, this is 2024, we're already in the month of March. Have you even decided what professional development you're going to do this year? Think about that. Now, already I've done, I think, 2 professional developments this year. And one was a major course, 35 hours, that I did an expedited course, as well as, well, when I say 2, I really mean several others because I took some webinars and I sat in on them to gain some additional education in what I need to gain information on. See, you may not be fulfilled by the same webinars I sit in because it's not part of your purpose. And so that's why I say you have to define, why are you here? But let me say this. If you're one of those people that keep saying, one of these days, if only I could, those type of things keeps coming up. I always wanted to. If you're not that person, you do know someone who is. And so we don't want to have that type of language in our lives. I'm still having those tapes in my head about some things that I have not tackled. And the only way I could tackle them is by having SMART goals. So I have to be very specific and strategic about what will I do in the year of 2024. See, when we're very smart about, and you see how I use that, if we're very smart about getting specific in what professional development or continuous learning we're going to do each year, and that will change. So I don't want you to get too locked in. You have to be flexible. Remember, we talked about that. So if I begin to do that this particular year, there are going to be some things that are already set in my calendar, just like my vacations, right? My time off, so I can rejuvenate. There's going to be some other family time. There's going to be different things when I read. All those wonderful things are on my calendar. Remember, we said blocking time, batch time. See, all of these things are working together for your good. We know Romans 8:28. So we have to be mindful about this. Now, I know you're thinking, well, I don't have time for this, and what good are these things, and they're not going to be profitable for me. I beg to differ. So, I always go to the Word of God because that is my foundation, and I hope that eventually it will be yours as well. But I go to Habakkuk 2:2, and I know you've heard it before, but the word never returns void. So let's look at that. It says in Habakkuk 2:2, and the Lord answered me and said, it's talking to Habakkuk, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. Now, this instruction was for Habakkuk to tell the people by giving them a plan. Didn't mean that Habakkuk wasn't going to be a part of the plan. I mean, he was going to work too. Okay, so just like as pastors, we give the plan to those in the church, and just like administrators, you give the plan to the people that are under you. But that doesn't disqualify you from working on the project. Okay, so that's for somebody out there. Everyone has to take their part in that. Okay, so that's basically what he was saying, because there was going to be Habakkuk, they were in the middle of the Babylonians. There was a lot going on. We're not going to get into it. There was a lot going on. And God was telling them, you're going to need to give them a plan, because opposition is on its way. Opposition is coming. It's here. And if you give them the right plan, they will be okay. They're going to be okay. Because first of all, God is with them. If God is with you, who could be against you, right? But if you give them a plan, they will know how to maneuver through it. Just like continuous learning, specific SMART goals. You have to have a plan to get through it. Now, you see how this is all connected. See, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything is connected. And that's why I want you to understand, even encouragement on fire. This is part of the practice to help you understand that, well, those Bible people, no. The word of God is very practical. It actually, people have said, because they give the initials, it's your biblical instruction while in the earth. So think of that. This is while you're here, you're going to be getting some understanding. Much of what you read in the Bible, unless someone really dives in, or the pastor or ministers or the apostles, the bishops, unless they really help you to understand it, many of you, it's going to be parables. You're going to be like, what in the world are they talking about? It's going to be like when you were in high school and they started talking Shakespeare. You're saying, okay, I understand some of that, but I don't quite understand all of that. Exactly. Okay. So it's one of those things that wherever your understanding is how much you're going to get out of it. All right. So I'm not going to get too deep into that. But let's go back. So it's important for us to do SMART goals. And how do we do that? So specific. I got to be very specific about what I want to do with my continuous learning. So I may say this year I'm going to do um, 2 courses and I'm going to do 6 webinars. Now, if I go over that, that's okay as long as it was conducive to my schedule. Think about that. But if I notice that I'm overworked, overstressed, I pull back and say, I made a decision in the beginning of the year. This is what I was going to do. And I'm not going to put myself through more than that. Because sometimes we say yes to everything. Remember in a previous podcast, you have to learn to say no. So if someone says, well, can you come to my webinar? Can you come? If they say, well, can you come and hear me preach? You can. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Because, if you have a pastor, that's your pastor. You go and see your pastor. Hopefully, every week you're listening to your pastor and you're learning the word of God. But also, you just can't say yes to everything. You don't have enough time in the day. But if you're very specific about it, what you're going to do is you're going to say, this year, I'm going to go see 2 or 3 people in addition to my professional development that I have reasonably placed on my entire calendar for the year. And I will say yes to those. But overall, you can't say yes to everything. Okay. All right. So the next one is measurable. Yes. You have to make sure that we're talking about you right now. So it has to be measurable. You can't have a class that's indefinite. Like I'm going to go every day this entire year. You would never get anything else done. So you have to decide, do I need an expedited course where I can get all the content in maybe 2 months? I've done that this year already. Or can I go to class twice a month, even though it may be expanded out for 2 years, but at least I have time for the other things in my life. I'm actually in a pastoral course with my bishop, and that's once a month. So it's one of those things that you do what is conducive to what your needs are. Okay. Now there's some people that are at one time, I remember us being in class every single week, but now that's not needed in where we are in the level we are right now. So it changes. Remember, I said flexibility. You have to be flexible. So just remember in your continuous learning, what is it you need right now to accomplish the purpose in your life? All right. So the next one is attainable. Are you even able to do it? Now, I'm be honest with you guys. I've taken courses that it was so much content. I was like, how in the world am I going to do this? How in the world? Now I did it, but now I'm wiser to say, I'm going to read the syllabus before I say yes to an actual course. You can see someone's syllabus before you actually take their course and understand, is it doable for my schedule? Now, I remember being in college the 3 different times I was, and I'm telling you, there was times I was overwhelmed. Then there were times that I was like, I got this. This is a piece of cake. So you know what you can handle and what you can't. And if you can't, it's okay to say, I have to get out of this. I'm unable to do this. And talk to your professor or talk to the mentor or talk to whomever is giving the instruction. You'd be surprised. Someone will say, well, I'll hold your spot. You can come back at another time when it's more conducive to your schedule. Sometimes you just do the ask. Okay. The next one is relevant. Remember, I said specific. Is it relevant to the purpose that you have for your life? Okay. Remember, the webinars that I take, most of them are about purpose, teaching purpose. It's about career. It's about administration. It's about project management. There are certain things that I dive right into and it excites me. Okay. It's like, oh my God, I'm ready to do this. But that's not for everyone. So there's some doctors out there. You're science. You're talking that all the time. There's some people. There's computer science. You're talking the language, right? Data analytics. You're talking a certain language. You're gonna take those type of courses, right? So it's relevant to what you need to do for your life. Now, there's some people out there, you may be fashion designers, right? And you have enough intel. But times are changing and people are changing. And guess what? You take classes so you can learn new things, right? You learn new things from other people. That's one of the things when you're in a collaboration with others in an environment, you get inspired of the creativity and all of a sudden it sparks something in you. If you're a writer and you're taking writing courses on many different things, so it could be children's books, it could be storytelling, it could be so many different types of writing research. The point is, you get inspired when you're amongst your peers, right? Everybody always talks about iron sharpening iron. That's what it's all about. Getting in there and knowing I don't have all the answers. That's what some of y'all, because I'm telling you, I was there. We don't have all the answers. And you'll find out, young and old, there's 5 generations that are usually in the room. And everyone can learn from each other. It is, and respecting each other, whether you were someone who, whether it's the millennial generation, the baby boomer generation, whether you are Gen X, whatever your generation, everyone is respected in the space. And then the last one, timely. There must be progressive milestones. So you wouldn't take a course today or this year, and then all of a sudden you're not going to take another course for 4 years. That doesn't make any sense. So there should be a time frame, because knowledge is constantly changing. And you want to make sure, okay, I'm going to get this certification in 2 years, or I'm going to get this new understanding within 12 months. Because guess what? 3 years from now, that understanding may be out of date, and you're going to have to go back to school so you can get some more intel. Doesn't mean you have to go back to school for everything. There may be some different additional courses that you're going to have to take in order for you to be up to date on what you need to do. Okay. So remember, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely are all necessary for you to do continuous learning. So when we go into our next podcast, we're going to start talking about how to progress in that continuous learning. Okay. All right. I'm Shirley Farrar. Thank you for coming today. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.